We have all heard it said, the pure in heart shall see God. And so, with this in memory, most of us, embarking on the spiritual path from the very beginning, have recognized the value of purity of heart. Because purity of heart is like unto a mirror of perfection. Purity of heart is like the perfect glass that reflects exactly what it sees because it has the silver applied to the back of it. And it is true in its reflective quality. The moment we create even a slight aberration in purity of heart, we change the base of the pyramid of life. The slightest aberration in the base of the pyramid manifests as crookedness in the apex. We need then to, from time to time, come to a place in our own thoughts where we true our world, where we true the mirror to make certain that it is reflective of God. I believe that many people have gods made in their own image and in their own likeness. I do not think that the fact that people do this is of necessity what they intend to do. We want then to speak of purity of heart and purity of mind, purity of being, and refer to this great cosmic mirror that we all must create to reflect the image of God as the most important ingredient to true divine seeing. And the truing of our mirror is essential because if we do not keep it true, we are going to have warp in our manifestation. Ours is no ordinary activity. The Summit Lighthouse organization, from its very earliest inception, has been founded upon progressive revelation, whereas most organizations are founded on dogma. There is a vast difference between dogma and progressive revelation. Dogma means that we have theorized and accepted our theories and systematized these theories and written them down and professed that this is what I believe, whether or not we have actually proven it. And most of dogma cannot be proved to the satisfaction of the total universal man. But progressive revelation can if man will qualify for it. The whole problem, however, in this matter is that unless the mirror be true, what you see in the mirror may be only an anthropomorphic God, a God made in your image. And unless you have traversed the path far enough that the image that you wear is the image of God completely, you still have a considerable potential of human error in your thinking. It is then the grace of God and the grace of God alone that keeps us true and pure. So I believe we should seek for this purity of heart, which is the totality of the vision of man. The total vision must be purified. That's purity of heart as I see it. Purity of heart does not mean that you just have your little heart down here washed, because you can't get at that heart with your physical body. It doesn't mean that you should just have a feeling, a situation where you feel good. And why do you feel good in many cases? You feel good because the sordid memories of something or other that you did against the law have been buried. They're buried in that merciful subconscious, which swallows them up, hoping to eventually transmute them. And you feel a little better because they're buried. It's like the murderer burying his mistakes and feeling that as soon as he's buried them, covered over the last shovelful of earth, that then he's taken care of everything. Submersion of our inequities is not of necessity a guarantee that we have a pure heart. Submersion of our inequities means, very simply put, that the memories we have of any sordid doings whatever that we have ever done have been submerged to the level where we don't see them anymore. And out of sight, out of mind. Now the question then comes into mind, are we supposed to sit and review and mull over all of the wrongs we think that we may have done in life? The answer then, of course, is no. I do not hold against the concept of burying these problems. Even though I seem to speak against it, I do not hold against it. But I would like to point out that the covering over of these multitude of sins that people have had in their past lives and in the present life, and even in this moment for that matter, we could still have sins of thought. These sins of thought ought to be submerged, because it is not proper that we should concentrate upon them. And why is it so? We should not concentrate upon them, because they will always engender condemnation, self-condemnation. Therefore, what we should do is continue to invoke the flame of transmutation and call upon the law of forgiveness. We should do that every day. Let God, through his sacred fire, allow what we call the penetration of the sacred fire to go down into the subterranean regions and burn out of our consciousness the cause, effect, record, and memory of all conditions that are unwanted, undesirable, and impure in our lives. Let God do it. This is important. And we must have faith in his forgiveness. And one of the biggest tricks of the enemy in existence is to say to our mind, you know, sometime, somewhere you did something wrong. And resurrect the memory of this wrong. Then when the wrong comes back, condemnation returns. And with condemnation comes inefficiency. Inefficiency in functioning as a true spiritual being. Man no longer functions then as he ought to function. He not only fails to transmute his wrongs, but the wrongs that he revives in memory may become revived then in activity, because he may say to himself, by reason of excuse, well, I'm beginning to think that I did this or that wrong in the past, and so maybe there really isn't any hope for me. And that is the most stupid thing any person can do. It is utterly stupid, because Christ has said, God has said, and it's all the same, be ye perfect. We are supposed to be perfect, but the perfection has to be in the perfection of God. I wanted to bring this out because purity of heart is something that a lot of people fail to really understand. Purity of heart is a condition of reflecting the heart of God in our own lives. It has nothing to do with good and evil in ourselves. The good and evil in ourselves will both melt away when we reflect enough of God. That's what is meant by the statement that God made concerning Abraham the patriarch, when he said he would not impute sin unto Abraham because he was a man after his own heart. In other words, he wanted the purity of the heart of God. And this shows that it has nothing to do with good and evil. People are always inclined to think of their great goodness. And this creates almost a sort of a fraudulent panacea of self-righteousness that just simply fills the consciousness. People get filled with the idea of how good they are because they did a few good deeds, thought a few good thoughts. And the same with evil. Good and evil are bad, both. Did you hear what I said? I said good is bad. Because the good we're talking about has to be repudiated by man. Why callest thou me good, the Master said. There is none good but one, he said. That is God. We have to understand this. It is a matter then of mirroring the perfection of God in our life. That is the pure in heart. Because then you can see God. And God is good. But this goodness is not the goodness of man. It's the goodness of God, captured in the pure, pristine purpose. Do you hear me? The pure, pristine purposes of God.